Okay, you ready to get your geek on? We're going to install Kali now as a virtual machine. Now, let's go back and just quickly fire up our Hyper-V Manager console. Again, you can see I've got my 08, my Windows 8.1, my 2012, and my Windows 7 box. We're going to install now Kali. I'm going to select New, Virtual Machine. And the reason why we're installing Kali is not just to have a Linux box, but this particular distro has tools in it for pen testing and vulnerability checking. And a lot of guys use this to test their own environment, but guess what? All tools that are created for good, people can use them for evil as well. And so you're going to see a lot of references to Kali, or it used to be referred to as Backtrack. So I'm going to hit Next here, and I'm going to call this one again just Kali. Where do you want to save this bad boy? You know the drill here. We'll put it inside of our CEA project under our VMs. I'm going to go ahead and select Next. I'm going to use a Gen 1. Assign memory. This one I'm also going to throw a little bit more memory at it. I'm going to throw another 248 at it. Hit Next. And the reason why we're throwing a little bit more at it is because it's got a bunch of applications. In fact, if you want to, you could bump this one. If I was going to bump one, I'd probably bump this one besides this one in the Server 2012 box. And the reason why we do the Server 2012 is because eventually you may want to install SQL on that box to try your own SQL injection or fire up your own web server, which we've set it up so that it is a web server, but you may want to put your own web server in there or websites. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Next here. We're going to fire this up on the hacking network. And here's the VHDX file that's going to create. Again, we'll leave the default size. And again, we're going to install this one also from an ISO. And let's find our Kali Linux. There it is right there. Hit Next. Summary screen. Finished. Phew. Oh, I didn't call that one correctly, did I? That's okay. We can right-click on this and go into the settings options. Come down here to the name and change this up. So it's EH. And if you want, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply here. If you want to go back and change any of your processor or memory requirements, the machine has to be turned off, the virtual machine itself. Yeah, not the host machine. Don't turn it off and think you're going to change settings. Okay, guys? The virtual machine has to be turned off. So if you want to make those adjustments, you can as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. There we go. Now it says Kali for us. Let's go ahead and fire this bad boy up. We're going to connect up to it. And we're going to go ahead and select Start. And we're going to get in relatively quickly to the interface, our boot menu for Kali. Now you could, if I was doing a pen test and it was a black box environment where I'm just in and out real quick, I'm probably going to run this live, meaning I'm going to run it from the CD or from a USB drive. I'm not going to install it anywhere. I'm just going to use this machine. I'm going to plug in my CD, reboot the machine, and run my tools very, very quickly. But that's not what I want to accomplish here. It does require a little bit more setup that you need to really know what you're doing. And I would highly recommend that you go through and look at some of the online videos concerning Kali and running it from a live edition. I'm going to go through and actually do a graphical install. Oh, don't get scared. Normally in Microsoft's world, we would be panicking at this point going, what happened? It broke. This is normal for Linux. So it loads up. Here we go. So now we're into the GUI. We're going to go ahead and select the default language. You'll notice that I'm synthetic here because my mouse moves in and out of the Hyper-V environment. So I'm going to select English as my language. I'm in the United States. You're going to go through and take your own defaults throughout this language section. It's now loading the installer components from the DVD or that ISO. It's now doing a hardware detection, trying to assign an IP address to the network interface card, including using IPv6. But that's all going to fail on me. But that's okay, because when it fails, we'll be able to assign a static IP. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and it tells me here I'm not using DHCP. That's cool. I'm going to hit continue. And now I'm going to configure my network manually so I can put in those static IP addresses. So the first thing is, what's the IP address range? Well, let's see. We're using numlock this bad boy, 192.168.0. You know what? Let's go ahead and bump this one up a little bit higher. I'm going to go to 50. I know that we technically would have gone to 30, but I'm going to bump it up a little bit there. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Take the default subnet mask, which is, again, the 22255. I don't have a default gateway. You could leave that in there if you want. It's not going to work regardless. I hit continue. What's the DNS server? That's 192.168.0.10, Dale. That's right. I'm going to hit continue. It asks for the computer name. Well, Cali's probably okay. I don't know why they don't do it with a capital, but I'm going to fix that myself. Hit continue. It's asking what's the name of the domain that I'm on. Well, I'm not on one, so I'm going to hit continue. And then finally, it asks for the root password. Now let's pause here just for a second or slow down. In Linux, they have a account that's called the root account. And that root account is like the master of that machine. And it has its own password. So we refer to this as the root password. So I'm going to type in my root password, being our funky $, W0RD password. This is where I always make fun of people that when they complain that Microsoft prompts you for a credentials when you try to do something with the UAC, yet Linux does it all the time. If you try to make a change, it asks for the root password. So you need to know what that is. We're going to go ahead and hit continue. It's now going to go through and try to get our time, set up our time and date, but it won't be able to find it. So we'll have to set up our own time zone here. So I'm in Mountain Time Zone. You'd select your own. I'm going to hit continue. And then it asks, how do you want to partition off the drives? And this is not a Linux class, but hey, I happen to know a great company that has videos that you can go watch about how to actually install Linux and learn Linux, but this isn't that video. Pluralsight. That was my subliminal Pluralsight. Advertisement Pluralsight rules. That would get you maybe to go watch another video, Pluralsight rules. This case here, we're just going to go through and do a guided. We're going to use the entire disk. I'm going to hit continue. It picks up the drive. I'm going to hit continue. It then says, okay, how do you want to set up the partitions? I'm just going to take my defaults here. Again, if you want to get real in-depth on how to set up Linux correctly, again, I reference you to other courses. I hit next, and it gives me a summary. You want to finish and partition this off. I'm going to hit continue. And this is kind of interesting. It says, we're about to do this. The default is no, don't make the changes to the drive. Yes, I want to make the changes because I'm trying to install is what you want to select here. I'm going to hit continue, and it goes through and creates the partitions. Okay, the next thing is it wants to implement a network mirror, but since we don't have internet, it doesn't really matter what we do. I'm just going to go ahead and hit no, hit continue. It now asks me if I want to install a bootloader. This is so that I could install multiple operating systems and kind of dual boot. Again, it doesn't really matter what you choose here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the defaults and say yes. Not that I plan on installing another OS, but I just like hitting yes a lot. Or next. And what's really nice is that it's going through and actually disabling or ejecting off the CD. You'll see this get ejected so that on the reboot, it doesn't boot back in to Linux or into the boot menu for installation. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And you'll notice now it's ejected already, so that's kind of cool. Now again, Kali is synthetic, or this distro of Linux is synthetic to Hyper-V. There are certain versions that are synthetic, meaning that you can move in and out with no problems. How you can tell when you're not synthetic is when you click inside that environment and you can't get out, and you have to do a keyboard combination to get out. And in Hyper-V, I believe it is shift left arrow to get out, in case you load a different distro up. Because there's several tools out there, or several suites of tools that may be running in different versions of Linux. We're going to be looking at the Kali one, though, in this environment. It's going to reboot. It's automatically going to, don't touch anything. I haven't touched anything. We're just going to let it go. It's not broken. And here's the login. So I'm just going to hit enter. It's asking for the username. Right now I just have root. And our password, which was our $, W0RD. And I should get my Linux desktop or my Kali desktop. And there it is. There's my computer. There's my internet access. There's my sound. One thing I'm going to want to do here for Kali is I'm going to open up a terminal, which is like a command prompt. And I'm going to just do the same thing we did before. I'm going to try pinging, not ponging. I'm going to ping 192, stupid numlock. 192.168.0.10. Oh, it's unreachable. Did I not specify that one correctly? Let's go in and take a look at my settings here. And I'm on the hacking network. Let's break out of this real fast. And let's check our IP info here. I'm going to do I have to put on my Linux hat here, my IF config. And let's see, 192.168 broadcast, IM.50, 22255. Why am my virtual machines, they are up and running? Yep. Oh, 2012 R2 is not. Oh, I know why 2012 R2 is not. Wow, great point. We're going to take care of that during our housekeeping section. So make sure you do not miss our summary. Okay, that's okay. Let's go ahead and ping one of our other machines. I'm going to move this back up. So if I ping 192, come on, stupid numlock, 192.168.0.15, notice I get a response back. So that one's good. We're going to go ahead and type in exit here. Break it, exit, and we'll go ahead and close down this console. So you saw how to install Kali in your virtual environment, which again is going to have a bunch of tools that we'll be utilizing throughout all these different courses. Now, again, don't forget to watch the summary. I know that sometimes people skip over the summary, but we've got some house cleaning that we need to take care of, including creating some snapshots.